a cheap plastic fan heater, a single discarded match, a loose wire in an elevator. These are not weapons. They are the small, invisible triggers that destroyed thousands of lives. In this episode, we reconstruct 6 specific historical events where the laws of physics became the executioner. From the chimney effect that turned a tunnel into a furnace, to the invisible gas that wiped out a village in silence. Disclaimer: this is a strict forensic analysis of fatal accidents for educational purposes. Observe the errors of the past, so you do not repeat them in the future. November 11, 2000. The Austrian Alps. The morning air is crisp, the sky a piercing, deceptive blue. At the base of the Kitzsteinhorn Glacier, the atmosphere is electric with the euphoria of winter sport. 161 people board the Gletscherbahn 2, a funicular railway designed to transport skiers through a tunnel cut directly into the granite heart of the mountain. This machine is considered the apex of alpine engineering. It is modern, clean, and perceived as invincible. Passengers see chrome, glass, and the promise of speed. They trust the system implicitly. They hand their lives over to the mechanism, but they do not see the anomaly hiding in the rear driver's cabin. It is a small, unauthorized modification, a cheap, plastic hobby fan heater, installed to keep the attendant warm during the descent. It is a domestic appliance vibrating inside an industrial beast. As the train begins its ascent, the hydraulic lines shudder. A fracture appears. Flammable oil begins to leak, dripping directly onto the glowing red heating element of the fan. The train enters the tunnel. The trap is set. The world outside vanishes, replaced by the concrete throat of the mountain. The tunnel is 3,200 meters long, rising at a steep 45-degree angle. In the unyielding language of fluid dynamics, this is no longer a transport tube. It is a chimney. The fire begins quietly in the rear cabin, fed by the high-pressure hydraulic fluid. The train continues moving, fanning the flames into a blowtorch. Then, the hydraulic system loses pressure. The automatic safety protocols engage. The brakes slam shut. The train halts abruptly, 600 meters inside the dark tube. The lights flicker and die. Total darkness. The nightmare begins. The doors are hydraulically locked, a safety feature designed to prevent falls, which now seals the passengers inside a burning coffin. The attendant in the rear cabin realizes the catastrophe, but the fire has already severed the communication lines. Panic ripples through the darkness. Smoke begins to seep into the passenger compartments. It is not wood smoke. It is a complex, toxic effluent of burning plastic, hydraulic fluid, and fiberglass insulation. One breath causes disorientation. 2 breaths induce paralysis. Now the timeline fractures. This is the moment where human instinct collides with the cold laws of thermodynamics. Desperate passengers use ski boots and poles to smash the plexiglass windows. They spill out onto the narrow service stairs alongside the track. They are terrified. They are choking. And they are faced with a binary choice, up or down. Evolution has hardwired the human brain with a simple survival algorithm: flee away from the heat. The fire is below them. The smoke is rising. The instinct screams at them to run away from the danger, to climb up toward the light, towards the exit at the top of the mountain. It feels like the logical, sane choice. It is the choice of the majority. 150 people turn their backs on the fire and begin to climb the stairs, moving deeper into the tunnel, ascending towards the station. They are running for their lives, but they are running a race they cannot win. In a vertical shaft, heat creates a massive pressure differential. This is the stack effect. The fire at the bottom heats the air, making it less dense. This hot air rises with terrifying velocity. To replace it, fresh oxygen is sucked in from the bottom of the tunnel, rushing past the fire and turning it into a blast furnace. The tunnel becomes a jet engine. The toxic smoke is not drifting. It is being propelled up the shaft at speeds exceeding 144 kilometers per hour. The humans are climbing at perhaps 5 kilometers per hour. The math is merciless. The smoke column overtakes the fleeing crowd within seconds. It does not matter how fast they run. The poisonous gas hits them like a physical blow. They collapse on the stairs, one by one, overtaken by acute carbon monoxide poisoning and cyanide inhalation before the thermal wave even reaches them. They did exactly what their survival instinct told them to do, and it led them directly into the death zone. However, amidst the chaos, a deviation occurs. In the rear of the train, near the source of the fire, there's a small group of 12 people. Among them is a seasoned volunteer firefighter with years of field experience. He understands the physics of combustion. He knows that in a chimney, the only source of fresh air is below the fire. He looks at the flames raging nearby. He feels the radiant heat. His instinct screams at him to retreat, but his logic overrides his fear. He shouts at the others to follow him. They make a choice that seems insane to the observer. They move towards the fire. They step past the burning cabin, shielding their faces, and descend into the darkness below the train. They walk downwards, against the draft. They are moving into the visual source of the danger, but they are also moving into the intake of clean oxygen. They scramble down the service stairs, past the roaring flames, and emerge into the cold, clean air of the lower tunnel section. They walk out of the mountain alive. The aftermath is a scene of sterile silence. Rescue teams cannot enter the tunnel for hours. The heat is so intense it fuses the rock. When they finally reach the site, the devastation is absolute. The train has been reduced to a skeletal frame. The 150 people who ran up the stairs are found lifeless, frozen in their final moment of flight. The smoke didn't just kill the passengers, it shot out of the top of the tunnel like a volcanic eruption, killing 3 people in the Alpine Center kilometers away and suffocating the attendant in a separate train descending on the parallel track. The disaster at Caprun was not caused by a bomb or a collision. It was caused by a heater that cost less than a ski pass and a fatal misunderstanding of airflow. The 12 survivors stand as a testament to a brutal truth. In the face of an industrial catastrophe, human intuition is often the first casualty. The mountain remains, indifferent and cold, holding the memory of the day when logic was the only lifeline, and the instinct to run away was a death sentence. August 21st, 1986, the northwest region of Cameroon. Night descends upon the Oku volcanic field, bringing a dense, humid silence to the village of Nyos. The topography here is deceptive. It is a landscape of lush green valleys and jagged cliffs, dominated by the serene, glass-like surface of Lake Nyos. To the local farmers and cattle herders, this water is a blessing, a natural reservoir sitting in the crater of a dormant volcano. They live in a comfortable truce with the land, tending their zebu cattle and cooking evening meals over open fires. It is a Thursday, a day of market routine. The air is cool, the sky is clouded. There is no visual indication that the geography itself has been weaponized. The villagers see a scenic lake. A geologist would see a ticking time bomb. For centuries, a magma chamber miles beneath the crater has been leaking carbon dioxide into the groundwater, which filters up into the bottom of the lake. In a normal body of water, seasons cause the layers to mix, releasing gas harmlessly into the atmosphere. But Lake Nyos is thermally stratified. A layer of warm, lighter water sits on top like a heavy lid, trapping the cold, gas-heavy water at the bottom. For decades, the pressure has been building. The deep water has become a supersaturated solution, a pressurized soda bottle waiting for the slightest vibration to blow the cap. At approximately 9:00 p.m., the physical equilibrium breaks. The trigger is unknown, a landslide, a cold rain, or a minor tremor, but the result is a catastrophic chain reaction known as a limnic eruption. A disturbance punctures the thermal layer. The deep water rises. As it rises, the pressure drops. The gas, suddenly released from its liquid prison, expands with explosive violence. A sound like a thunderclap shatters the night, audible for miles. A geyser of water and foam shoots 100 meters into the air, but the water is not the threat. The lake expels a massive, invisible cloud of carbon dioxide, estimated at 1.6 million tons. In the atmosphere, CO2 is a harmless trace gas. In this cloud, it is 100% pure concentration. Crucially, it is 1.5 times denser than air. It does not rise into the sky. Obedient to the laws of gravity, it falls. The cloud spills over the crater rim and hits the ground, transforming into a river of invisible fluid. It is 50 meters high and accelerates to speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. It pours into the valleys, following the contours of the land, hunting for the lowest elevation. The lowest elevation is where the humans are. The cloud reaches the village of Nyos first. The logic of the event is terrifyingly simple: atmospheric displacement. The heavy gas acts like a solid wall, pushing the lighter oxygen upwards and out of the valley. There is no violence in the traditional sense. Huts are not crushed. Windows remain intact. The catastrophe unfolds entirely within the chemistry of the blood. As the cloud floods the village, the oxygen level drops to near zero instantly. The first warning is technical. Kerosene lamps flicker and die as the combustion process fails. Motorcycle engines stall and go silent. Then, the biological engines fail. The villagers, many already asleep, do not panic. They do not scream. They simply cease to function. Carbon dioxide at this concentration acts as an anesthetic before it becomes a terminal toxin. They slip from sleep into a deep coma, and from coma into fatal respiratory arrest. There is no air to fuel a scream. The gas flows silently, filling the hollows and ravines, moving on to the villages of Cha and Subum, covering a range of 25 kilometers. It is a phantom tsunami, drowning everything in a dry, airless ocean. Even the insects fall silent. The cattle standing in their pens collapse where they stand, their lungs filled with nothing but geological exhaust. The timeline of the event is brutally short. Within an hour, the cloud dissipates, absorbed into the atmosphere, or dispersed by the wind. But the damage is permanent. The morning of August 22nd reveals a scene that defies human comprehension. The sun rises over a valley that looks perfectly preserved, yet entirely lifeless. There is no structural damage. The trees are green. The huts stand, but there is no movement. A terrifying silence hangs over the region. Survivors descending from the high ground find their families exactly where they left them. Some in bed, some sitting by cold fires, frozen in the middle of a routine. There are no wounds, no blood, no signs of struggle. It resembles a freeze-frame photograph. In total, 1,146 people have been extinguished. Over 3,500 livestock lie dead in the fields, their bodies unmarked. The only physical evidence of the disaster is the lake itself. The clear blue water has turned a deep, opaque red, the result of iron-rich water from the depths being churned to the surface and oxidizing. It is the color of rust and blood, a chemical marker of the violence that occurred. The medical teams that eventually arrive face a grim puzzle. They find a few survivors who woke up after being unconscious for nearly 36 hours, confused and grieving. Some have strange lesions on their skin, chemical burns, or frostbite caused by the rapid expansion of the gas, which cooled the air instantly. But for the vast majority, the cause of death is clinically precise: acute asphyxiation. The disaster at Lake Nyos was not a punishment or a curse. It was a rare geological glitch. It demonstrated that the planet does not need malice to destroy life. It only needs gravity and chemistry. The survivors were left to bury their dead in mass graves, traumatized by a killer they couldn't see, smell, or fight. Today, piping systems are installed in the lake, to siphon the gas from the bottom, a mechanical straw to prevent the pressure from building again. But the Red Lake of 1986 remains a stark reminder of humanity's fragility. We live on the surface of a volatile planet, assuming the air we breathe is a guaranteed right. In the valleys of Cameroon, 1,700 souls learned that the air can be taken away in a single, silent heartbeat, leaving the world intact but empty. November 18, 1987, Central London. It is the height of the evening rush hour at King's Cross St. Pancras, the busiest and most complex node in the London Underground network. Below the city streets, a labyrinth of tunnels hums with the movement of 250,000 commuters. The atmosphere is thick with the metallic smell of ozone, brake dust, and stale subterranean air. Connecting the deep-level Piccadilly line to the main ticket hall is a piece of living history. Escalator number 4. It is a pre-war relic, constructed of heavy oak steps and mahogany cleats. In 1987, these wooden escalators are cherished for their nostalgia, their warm aesthetic standing in sharp contrast to the cold steel of modern transit. They feel solid, reliable, and benign. But beneath the polished wood lies a dormant industrial threat. For decades, the internal machinery has been lubricated with heavy grease. Over the years, this grease has mixed with fibrous dust, human hair, and discarded ticket stubs to form a thick, flammable sludge that coats the underside of the tracks. The escalator is not merely a staircase. It is a 30-degree inclined wick, primed and waiting. At approximately 7:30 p.m., the chain of events begins with a microscopic, banal gesture. A commuter, lighting a cigarette on his way up to the street, discards a used match. The flame is not fully extinguished. It falls from his hand, bounces off a wooden step, and slips through the narrow gap between the cleats. It lands on the running track below, embedding itself in the layer of grease. The commuter walks away, merging into the crowd, unaware that he has just initiated a thermodynamic anomaly that will baffle scientists for years. The fire begins as a small localized event. Passengers notice a smell of burning rubber. Wisps of blue smoke begin to curl up from the sides of the escalator. The London Fire Brigade is alerted. When the first firefighters arrive at 7:42 p.m., the situation appears deceptively manageable. They see a fire about the size of a cardboard box, flickering halfway up the escalator shaft. To the seasoned professionals, this looks like a routine rubbish fire. They have fought hundreds of these before. The protocol is simple. Stop the escalator, apply water, and clear the smoke. There's no panic. Passengers are still moving through the ticket hall above, annoyed by the delay but not afraid. The firefighters believe they have time. They are wrong. They are observing the fire through the lens of standard behavior, assuming heat rises vertically. But inside the inclined shaft of escalator 4, the laws of physics are behaving in a way that no textbook had ever predicted. The fire is not rising. It is laying down. This is the trench effect. It is a deadly variation of the Coanda effect, a fluid dynamics principle where a moving fluid stream adheres to a convex surface. In the narrow, trench-like channel of the escalator, the heat from the small fire cannot escape upwards. Instead, the airflow is trapped between the side balustrades. The fire clings to the wooden steps, stretching out horizontally like a liquid. It lies flat against the slope, racing upwards. As it stretches, the flames preheat the wood ahead of them. The oak steps, which are normally hard to burn, are subjected to intense pyrolysis, chemical decomposition caused by heat. They release combustible gases, priming themselves for ignition. The fire is not just burning, it is sprinting up the slope, feeding on its own momentum. To the firefighters at the bottom, the fire still looks small, but from the perspective of the physics, the escalator has become a high-velocity flamethrower aimed directly at the ticket hall. The energy is building up in an invisible feedback loop, accumulating temperature and speed, until it reaches a critical threshold. At 7:45 p.m., the physics equation resolves itself. The preheated gases reach their flash point. The fire does not grow, it erupts. In a fraction of a second, the small fire transforms into a jet of flame moving at 12 meters per second. It shoots up the remaining shaft, screaming like a jet engine. The superheated column of gas hits the ceiling of the ticket hall above. The effect is catastrophic. The ceiling, coated in layers of old solvent-based paint, ignites instantly. This is a flashover. The temperature in the ticket hall spikes from ambient to 600 degrees Celsius in a single breath. The air itself becomes fire. The 31 people in the ticket hall, commuters buying tickets, staff, and a police officer trying to evacuate them, do not face a spreading fire. They face a thermal shockwave. The heat is so intense it melts the plastic buttons on the ticket machines and fuses the metal coins inside. Escape is biologically impossible. The environment changes from a transit hub to an incineration chamber faster than the human brain can process the threat. The aftermath is a scene of blackened devastation. The ticket hall is a charcoal skeleton. 31 lives are lost. When investigators enter the ruins, they are baffled. The burn patterns do not make sense. The damage is too extensive for a simple grease fire. For months, computer simulations fail to replicate the disaster. The experts are accused of negligence. The public believes someone must have used an accelerant. It is only when researchers build a scale model of the station and angle it at exactly 30 degrees that they see it. They watch in horror as the flames in the simulation lie down and race up the slope, replicating the trench effect perfectly. The discovery sends a shockwave through the scientific community. The disaster at King's Cross was not caused by incompetence in the moment. It was caused by a gap in human knowledge. We simply did not know that fire could behave this way. The wooden escalators of London were removed, replaced by steel. But the legacy of King's Cross remains in the textbooks of fire dynamics. It is a brutal reminder that the laws of physics are not negotiated. They are discovered, often at a terrible price. A single match revealed a secret of thermodynamics, and the cost of that lesson was 31 souls, who stood in the path of a phenomenon that, until that night, had no name. May 24, 2001. The Talpiot Industrial Zone, Jerusalem. It is a warm Thursday night, signaling the start of the weekend in Israel. The air vibrates with the sounds of celebration. The Versailles wedding hall is glowing like a beacon. Inside, nearly 700 guests have gathered to celebrate the marriage of Karen and Asaf Dror. The atmosphere is defined by pure, unfiltered euphoria. There is food, wine, and an overwhelming sense of community. The venue itself is a testament to modern ambition. A converted industrial space transformed into a palace of marble and light. It looks solid. It looks permanent. To the guests, the floor beneath their feet is as reliable as the bedrock of the city. They trust the architecture implicitly. They do not know that the building is hiding a structural lie. This hall is not built on standard engineering principles. It is built on a shortcut. The construction utilizes a method called pal-cal, a patented system designed to be cheaper, lighter, and faster than traditional reinforced concrete. Instead of thick, solid slabs, the floors are filled with thin metal coffers, empty boxes, to reduce weight and save money. It is an invention born of economic efficiency, not safety. But the fatal error goes deeper. Weeks before the wedding, the owners decided to renovate. To create a more open space on the floor below, they removed several load-bearing partition walls. They effectively knocked the legs out from under the table, assuming the pal-cal ceiling could float on its own. It could not. By 10:30 p.m., the celebration reaches its kinetic peak. The band strikes up a popular Mizrahi song. The rhythm is fast, driving, and infectious. The crowd surges onto the dance floor. Hundreds of people begin to jump in unison. This is the moment where biology declares war on physics. The collective weight of the guests is static, but their movement creates a dynamic load. When they jump and land together, they are not just applying weight, they are applying force. They are creating a shock wave. This is the phenomenon of resonance. The frequency of the jumping matches the natural frequency of the compromised floor. The structure begins to vibrate. It starts to act less like a concrete slab and more like a trampoline. In the center of the dance floor, guests feel a strange sensation. The floor seems to be bouncing under their feet. Some laugh, thinking it is a special effect or a testament to the energy of the party. They do not realize they are standing on a membrane that has already snapped. The metal boxes inside the concrete are buckling. The sheer strength of the slab has been exceeded. The floor is tired. It has held on for as long as the laws of physics will allow. Now the debt must be paid. At 10:43 p.m., the illusion of safety shatters. A video camera captures the moment in real time. 1 second, the bride and groom are being lifted on chairs, surrounded by smiling faces. The next second, they vanish. There is no warning crack, no slow crumbling. The failure is brittle and instantaneous. The center of the third-floor dance floor simply disintegrates. A hole, creating a funnel of gravity, opens up beneath the feet of the dancers. In the blink of an eye, 23 meters of the building's core freefalls. It does not stop at the second floor. The kinetic energy of the falling concrete and human bodies smashes through the second floor, and then through the first, crashing all the way down to the basement level. It is a pancake collapse. 3 stories of architecture are compressed into a pile of rubble within 3 seconds. The music stops, replaced by a deafening roar of destruction, and then a cloud of white dust that swallows the screams. The transition is too fast for the brain to process. One moment, a person is dancing at a wedding. The next, they are buried under tons of twisted rebar and shattered cement in a dark pit. The aftermath is a scene of industrial surrealism. The outer walls of the hall remain standing, untouched, while the interior is hollowed out, a gaping wound in the center of the building. Survivors stand on the jagged edge of the abyss, looking down into the crater where their friends and family just were. The structure resembles a dollhouse with the front torn off. Rescue units from the Home Front Command arrive, but the operation is a nightmare. The remaining sections of the floor are unstable, threatening to crush the rescuers. They have to work with surgical precision to extract the victims from the tangled Palcal metal, which has twisted like ribbons. The toll is devastating. 23 people sustain fatal traumatic injuries, their lives ended by the blunt force of the fall and the crushing weight of the building. Over 380 others are injured. The Palcal system, once hailed as a brilliant innovation for saving money, is revealed to be a death trap. The inventor, Eli Ron, and the engineers who signed off on the removal of the walls are eventually indicted for manslaughter, but the verdict comes too late for the families. The Versailles wedding hall disaster was not an act of God. It was a man-made catastrophe, a direct result of cutting corners. It remains the worst civil disaster in Israel's history, a brutal lesson in the price of greed. The guests were dancing on a void, suspended over nothing but a cheap idea that couldn't carry the weight of their joy. Gravity, in its cold indifference, simply reclaimed the space. August 16, 2003, Houston, Texas. It is a humid Saturday morning at St. Joseph's Hospital. The environment is sterile, smelling of antiseptic and strong coffee. Dr. Hitoshi Nikaido, a 35-year-old surgical resident, walks through the lobby. He is a man of exceptional promise, known for his deep faith and steady hands, exhausted from a night shift, but driven by the momentum of his career. He is accompanied by Karen Steinau, a physician assistant. They are discussing the routine handover of patients, walking towards the central elevator bank. This is the most mundane action in modern urban life. We press a button, a chime sounds, and we step into a metal box suspended by steel cables. We trust the machine implicitly. We assume that the invisible network of sensors and safety brakes will protect us. We do not stop to consider that an elevator is essentially a heavy industrial platform moving within a vertical shaft, capable of exerting crushing force. Elevator number 6 arrives. The doors slide open. It looks like a simple portal to the second floor. In reality, it is a hydraulic guillotine waiting for a trigger. Nikaido gestures for Steinau to enter first, but she is distracted, looking down at her pager. He steps forward. He is halfway across the threshold when the system betrays him. The doors do not wait. They snap shut with aggressive, unnatural speed, pinning his shoulders between the steel panels. This happens occasionally in elevators. Usually the rubber edges hit an obstruction. The electric eye sensor detects a presence, and the doors bounce back open. It is a minor annoyance, but today the sensors are blind. The doors clamp onto Nikaido's upper torso, trapping him in a mechanical vice grip. He struggles, likely assuming this is a malfunction that will resolve in a second. He is alive, conscious, and annoyed. He is not yet afraid. He does not know that the true failure is happening deep inside the elevator's control logic. An elevator is governed by a safety chain, a series of electrical switches that must all be closed for the car to move. The most critical is the door interlock. If the doors are not fully closed and locked, the circuit breaks, and the motor cannot engage. It is a failsafe designed to prevent exactly this scenario. But on elevator number 6, the interlock circuit has degraded. A single wire, corroded or improperly maintained, sends a false positive signal to the controller. The computer reads doors closed. The computer reads safe to move. The massive hydraulic pump activates. The floor of the elevator car begins to rise. Nikaido is pinned at the chest level. His feet are outside in the lobby. His head and torso are inside the car. As the floor rises, he is lifted off his feet. He is now suspended in the air, struggling against the closing doors. Steinau, standing inside the car just inches away, watches in paralyzed horror as the floor brings Dr. Nikaido up towards the top of the doorframe. The architecture of an elevator shaft creates a shear point. This is the narrow gap where the ceiling of the lobby entrance meets the rising floor of the elevator car. It acts like a pair of scissors, but the blades are made of reinforced steel and concrete. As the car accelerates upward, Nikaido is driven into this lintel. There is no room for the human body to compress. The hydraulic system, designed to lift thousands of pounds, does not feel the resistance of bone and tissue. It pushes upward with relentless, mechanical indifference. The collision is instantaneous. The forces involved are catastrophic. The rising floor impacts the upper body with crushing, instantly fatal force. The trauma is absolute and fatal within milliseconds. There is no medical intervention possible. The injury is incompatible with biology. He collapses into the interior of the elevator. The doors, finally sensing that the obstruction is gone, rattle shut. The elevator continues its ascent as if nothing has happened. Inside the car, Karin Steinau is trapped. She is alone in a 6x6-foot box with the remains of her colleague. She's screaming, but the sound is swallowed by the acoustic dampening of the shaft. The elevator travels up to the second floor, but the doors do not open because the safety circuit has finally registered a fault. She is imprisoned in the scene of the death for nearly an hour, waiting for firefighters to pry the doors open. The investigation that followed revealed a tragedy of maintenance, not malice. The elevator had a documented history of door malfunctions. A specific wire in the safety circuit had likely shorted or been bypassed, creating a jumper effect that tricked the system into thinking it was safe to move. It was a failure of the most basic safety protocol in vertical transport. The death of Hitoshi Nikaido shattered the illusion of safety that surrounds our daily interaction with machines. We assume they are smart. We assume they see us. But elevator number 6 did not see a doctor. It saw a closed circuit. It executed its programming with cold precision. This incident serves as a brutal reminder of the mechanical reality beneath the veneer of civilization. An elevator is not a room, it is a vehicle, and when the safety chain breaks, it becomes a weapon that does not hesitate, does not negotiate, and does not stop. February 6, 2014. The Plura Valley, northern Norway. A frozen landscape of white silence covers the entrance to a subterranean world that operates by a different set of physical laws. Here, beneath the ice of the Plura River, lies the deepest and most extensive underwater cave system in Scandinavia. It is a hostile, alien environment where the water temperature hovers at a paralyzing 2 degrees Celsius, and the pressure is 14 times greater than at the surface. 5 elite Finnish divers have arrived to conquer this system. They are not thrill seekers. They are technical experts, equipped with rebreathers, complex closed-circuit machines that recycle exhaled gas, allowing them to stay submerged for hours. Their plan is a traverse, to enter through the Plura collection pond, dive down to 130 meters, navigate a narrow passage, and emerge at a dry cave opening called Steinugelflugget. It is a 5-hour mission that requires absolute precision. Among them are Jari Huotarinen and Vesa Rantanen. They have dived together for years. They trust their equipment, and they trust each other. They slide into the black water, leaving the world of sunlight and air behind. They descend into the sump, moving effortlessly through the crystal-clear water, guided by powerful HID lights. For the first hour, the mission proceeds with the calm efficiency of a spacewalk. They reach the deepest section of the cave, a crushing 130 meters down. The silence is absolute, broken only by the rhythmic mechanical clicking of the rebreather solenoids injecting oxygen. But the geology of Plura is unforgiving. At a depth of 110 meters, the tunnel narrows. This is the restriction. It is a tight, jagged throat of rock that a diver must squeeze through, manipulating their heavy gear to fit. Jari Huotarinen, the point man, attempts to pass. He is an experienced diver, but the geometry of the rock is deceptive. He becomes wedged. In the deep ocean, panic is not an emotion. It is a physiological toxicity. Jari begins to struggle. His heart rate spikes. He breathes faster. In a rebreather loop, this is fatal. The chemical scrubber that removes carbon dioxide cannot keep up with the metabolic demand of a panicked diver at this depth. Carbon dioxide begins to build up in his blood. This is hypercapnia. It creates a feedback loop of terror, confusion, and air hunger. He signals for help with his light, a frantic, jerking beam cutting through the darkness. Vesa Rantanen, following directly behind, sees the distress signal. He rushes forward. He finds his friend wedged in the rock, thrashing against the stone walls. Vesa tries to manipulate the gear, to free the snag, to calm Jari down. But at 110 meters, every movement is sluggish, every thought is clouded by nitrogen narcosis. The rescue attempt lasts for minutes that feel like hours. Then, abruptly, the thrashing stops. Jari Huotarinen goes limp. The mouthpiece falls from his lips. The water fills his lungs. The struggle is over. Now, Vesa Rantanen faces a nightmare that transcends horror. He is 110 meters deep, kilometers from the entrance. He is tired. His own gas supply is dwindling, and the only way out, the only path to the surface, is blocked by the lifeless body of his best friend. The tunnel is too narrow to turn around and go back the way they came. He does not have the gas reserves for the return trip. The physics of the situation present a cold binary equation. Stay and die out of loyalty, or remove the obstacle and live. Vesa waits. He checks his dive computer. The numbers are dropping. He forces himself to breathe slowly, suppressing the scream building in his chest. He realizes he cannot pull Jari free. The equipment is jammed tight. He makes the decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. He is not abandoning a friend. He is navigating a hazard. Vesa moves forward. He unclips his scooter. He uses his strength to push the body aside. He has to dismantle parts of Hari's equipment, cutting straps and moving cylinders to create a gap just wide enough for a human form. He squeezes past the corpse of the man he ate dinner with the night before. He feels the friction of the suit against his own. He pushes through the restriction, leaving Jari behind in the eternal dark. The ascent is a torture of its own. Vesa is shaken, his breathing rate irregular. The stress has compromised his body's ability to off-gas nitrogen. He misses critical decompression stops, ascending too fast in his desperate need to reach the surface. By the time he breaks the surface at Stein-Ugelflaget, he is broken. He has survived the cave, but the physics of the ascent have ravaged his joints. He is suffering from severe decompression, sickness, the bends. He cannot walk. He has to be airlifted to a hyperbaric chamber. And behind him, deeper in the cave, another diver, Kai Kinkanen, seeing the blocked passage and the flashing lights of the struggle, makes the opposite choice. He turns around. He survives a grueling, lonely return swim, surfacing hours later, traumatized. The Plura Cave disaster was a closed-system tragedy. It happened in silence, in the dark, witnessed only by the stone walls. It stripped away the romance of exploration and revealed the brutal truth of technical diving. At that depth, there is no rescue. There's only self-preservation. Jari Hutarinen was not killed by a monster. He was killed by a few centimeters of rock and the limitations of human physiology. Vesa Rantanen survived not because he was callous, but because he accepted the mathematical reality that in the deep death is a solid object, and life is a variable that must be calculated second by second. These 6 stories prove one thing: sometimes your greatest enemy is your own instinct. Now, a question of honesty that reveals your nature. If you were trapped in the burning Caprun tunnel, would you really have marched towards the fire like the 12 survivors? Or would your brain have forced you to run away from danger, straight into the gas trap like the 150 who died? Don't lie to yourself. Comment with one word: logic or instinct. Let's see how many of us would actually survive. Subscribe if you are ready to face the truth.